So today I want to talk about appointment setting. Would that help you guys if I talked about appointment setting today? Okay, because I know a lot of you may want to be doing a lot of the sales calls yourself, but at the same time you don't want to be chasing these leads around. So you got to figure out how to create a good balance for yourself in optimizing your sales process, right? So I have some slides for you guys, and we'll do like a formal training today. Let me share my screen. So today, guys, I want to talk about appointment setting, but at the same time, I want to give you guys a really clear idea of when you should consider an appointment setter. Okay, a lot of people go too early with an appointment setter, and they don't have their sales processes outlined and built out properly. So I want to give you guys both sides of when the timing of an appointment setter that's going to help you leverage your time, as well as how effective that's going to be. So let's get started. Okay, cool. How many of you currently have an appointment setter? Give me a feel for the room. How many of you are currently using an appointment setter or maybe considering getting an appointment setter, but you just haven't pulled the trigger? Give me some comments. Give me an idea of where you guys are in the chat, guys. Anyone? Okay. Enrique says he's considering it. Do not have one. Gus says. Okay. Okay, cool. So you guys are in the perfect position to really hear me out on this because you don't have a running process quite often to come back and rebuild. Okay. So couple of things that I want you guys to pay attention to. So how to properly leverage an appointment setter. So the first thing you want to pay attention to is ultimately the pipeline that you have, and really understand whether an appointment setter has enough work, right? If they don't have enough work and they're just setting up random things, leads for you, and it doesn't even have you don't even have a capability of measuring that volume, you're going to find yourself in trouble, right? Because the appointment center is not going to have too much to do, right? So first thing I will want to pay attention to is the volume that is required, okay? Second is actually sales enablement, right? Daryl says he has appointment setters already. Tom says I have one for my fitness business, but not for my SaaS. Okay, cool. So you guys understand the concept here. So first thing's the pipeline volume that's needed for your SaaS and your agency services, altogether hybrid model, right? Some of you may not be selling agency services, but I'm going to still cover that. Second is sales enablement. How do you provide an environment, and also what kind of training should you really pay attention to and provide for an appointment setter, right? That's number two. And number three is really figuring out how to build measurements in place, right? How to figure out the right KPIs. What are the relevant data that you should track versus just tracking data to track data? That's not going to help anybody. You need to have relevance in your data management, right? So let's talk about these things real quick. Okay. And I want to just so you guys know, I'll take about 20 minutes, maybe 15 minutes going through these slides because I really don't want it to be a physics class and, random slideshow. Like that's not how we do things, right? I want you guys to interact with me. I have my own agency. I built the high level agency with Robin and all the services at Marketplace as well. So I have enough experience to guide you guys, at least from what we're seeing in actual practicality of having these things in place, right? So three things: pipeline volume, sales enablement, and measuring the data, right? So those three things I want to talk about. As we go further into this conversation, before just few reference points that I want to just give you guys a foundational basis on is with your SaaS, right? This is the pricing model that I've been talking about. Many other agencies have talked about the agencies that we saw that are extremely successful. I'm talking about $20 million SaaS agencies off of high level. I'm not talking about just a random side income. These are really, really healthy businesses that we know that are working, right? And even when we look at them, these are the pricing models that are the most successful. This is not the only pricing model, but this is a great starter process to get going, right? So you can have your core offer at 297 plus net 297 setup. Then you have maintenance offers where you can throw in Facebook ads, in addition to your SaaS offers and things like that. And you don't have to do that, but that's a great hybrid model, right? And then you can have a downsell. Okay. So just a caveat to those of you that may be getting started. This is the pricing model example and analogy that I go off of quite a bit. Now, so where does the appointment setter sit, right? Appointment setter is basically one hat within the sales unit, right? Just one hat. But the appointment setter hat is quite often underrated by most agencies, which I truly believe is one of the number one mistakes in the sales processes. If you have appointment setters that are absolutely stunning in what they do, I promise you, your closers will close better. Your marketing will get better. They have a lot of feedback, a lot of say in how the sales process go. So let's take a look at the sales unit traditionally. You guys see my slides, right? Just confirming. Okay, cool. Thank you, Craig. Yeah. So in a traditional sales unit, you may have multiple units as you grow, by the way. Okay. In a traditional sales unit, you have four different hats that you wear today, even if you're a single solopreneur. Four different types of sales activities that you take part in. What are those four different types of sales activities? One is the prospector hat, right? Today, we substitute that individual with automated marketing, your VA that's doing cold emailing. That's your prospector, right? Sometimes we have multiple prospectors that take part in your sales process, but ultimately the activities is still the same. They are hunting, they're hunters of deals, right? They're looking out on the market on your behalf at scale, right? So that part, I recommend you initially don't do any of the manual labor work, even if you don't have a client, it doesn't matter. Get out of doing the manual work on prospecting, period. Okay. We'll talk about that another time and what that looks like and blah, blah, blah. Today, appointment setter is the focus. And then we'll come back to appointment setter, but a closer, right? A closer is somebody that an appointment setter essentially is working alongside of, right? And in traditional sales businesses, they call them account executives, right? Account executives are the closers, right? Appointment setter, quite often people call them all kinds of names, but at the end of the day, um, are people loud behind you? You guys are good? Yeah, we're good. So at the end of the day, the appointment setters typically will throw the alley oops for the closers to come in and close the deals. Business developers are essentially folks that will look at multiple deals. They're looking at affiliates, they're looking at partnerships with another agency, they're looking at white labelers. Those are the types of functionalities you guys at an agency level will see. So ultimately, there are four different hats: prospecting, closing, setting, and developing. These are the classic units of hats that you're going to see in a sales organization. In your agencies, even if you are a solopreneur, these are the four different types of activities in your sales, you know, movements that you would actually take part in. Okay, you guys following me so far? You with me? Everybody have a good understanding of how a sales system is structured, right? So let's go further. And some of you may have already taken the SaaS Fast Track program, and hopefully you enjoyed it and you got some feedback from me as I improved that. But I talked about the bridge walking method in communication, right? It's not just a sales thing. It's really how you communicate with anybody around you. So it's really important that your appointment setter understands the sales, the bridge walking method, right? They need to understand how to extract a story from a prospect, how to extract the numbers, how to extract the conditions and decisions and all these things, even in their hat. Every single hat in the sales unit should be able to navigate this framework. Okay. Now, in what capacity do they do that? At what level do they go into the depth of those conversations? Okay. So let's talk about that. So the next level to this is channel gating, right? What I mean by channel gating is the worst thing that can happen is the wrong prospect that is scheduled for an appointment. Right? That is a disaster, right? You have either lack of training or lack of understanding of who the prospects are, the leads are, and they will quite often, if you don't are not careful, right? They will schedule in somebody who's not qualified. So how do we avoid that problem, right? First, you need to understand how a lead system is structured in traditional business, right? First things first, most of us assume all leads are leads, but they're not. There are two different types of leads, right? Same thing with the buyer. There's two different types of buyers, right? And I'm not even talking about psychology. I'm simply talking about how they behave in pre-purchase. Okay. So who are the two different types of leads? You have the prospective leads, right? Let me delete this part so that way I don't confuse anybody. Uh, that okay, cool. So prospective lead is somebody who said, well, I'm interested. I just need to find out more info, right? How many of you guys had that happen to you there? You're like, you go through this whole process and demo, they're like, send me some email. What the hell? You wasted 2 hours of my day, right? You're upset. You're like, I thought you really wanted this. But the problem is in the beginning of the sales cycle in how you focus on the channel gating, right? What I mean by channel gating is like there's a qualification wall that somebody has to go through before they can enter the next phase of your sales cycle. Okay. So what's the difference between a prospective lead versus an activated lead? Prospective lead is somebody who's interested. They want info, but they don't know what to do about it. They're just curious, right? An activated lead is where your appointment setter is going to really have a great role in making these transitions happen, right? Your activated lead is somebody that says, yes, I'm interested and I'm looking to find out if you're the right person for me. Maybe they're not ready to buy yet, but they want to qualify their interest in being able to actually talk to the right people. They're not just looking for, I'm my agency, my personal agency is in the automotive space. A lot of blue collar guys, right? Great people, by the way, very genuine, honest trade workers, right? And a lot of them will say, well, Paulson, I heard my friend Tom Miller over there is doing some stuff, and I'm just curious. I need to talk to somebody about marketing, right? That's the type of conversations you'll have with the prospective lead. An activated lead would be somebody that says, well, Paulson, my friend Tom told me that he's using you, and I want to understand what you do differently. There's a depth difference in that conversation. You guys understand me, right? You follow me so far? Right? So your appointment setter in your sales process is the key player that you have to train and create some sales enablement and training to help them understand the difference between a prospective lead versus an activated lead. Right? Now, can you do that with random scripts? Technically, no, because they don't understand why the scripts are built the way they're built. Right? A lot of people just throw scripts at appointment setters and think that they have the business acumen to really qualify a client for you, right? So really, ultimately, you want to pay attention to how they move this. So let's talk about this in another realm, right? Buyers, right? If you have an activated lead that says, yes, Tom, I have a friend that told me that you do some cool stuff. I need to figure out what you can do for me. Doesn't mean that I'm gonna purchase from something from you, Tom. And I'm just grabbing one of your names, Tom. I hope you don't mind, right? Just really just doing an analogy with you in how your normal day would be in sales. So as soon as Tom tells me, well, help me understand what you do that's going to work for me, right? At that point, my appointment setter is going to say, Tom, I would love to introduce you to Paulson and Luis. They run this agency. We specialize in automotive. And what they would love to do is set up a, meeting with you and share a demo with you on a Zoom call and put together a plan that makes sense for you. When is a good time, right? When that happens, that appointment setter is still just looking to see if it's an activated lead that goes into becoming a prospective buyer, right? So I train my appointment setters to now go further before before they book the appointment, which is there are a couple of questions that you all these are set of questions that you have the appointment setter ask in order for them to be able to qualify the movement of your lead. Okay, just so you guys understand. So the set of questions that she's going to ask is, well, Tom, it seems like a good fit based on what Paulson and Lewis does. Like, I feel like we can do some cool stuff for you and bring in some customers through your front door. Is this the right time for you to invest into marketing if everything made sense, Tom? If Tom says no, my appointment setter understands that this person is just a prospective buyer or an activated lead, but it's not a confirmed buyer. I have literally an hour and a half in a day. Lewis has barely an hour in a day for us to do demos. You understand how critical that question is for us to make sure we don't waste that precious hour and a half, 2 hours we have, right? So our appointment setter is really our ultimate MVP in that sales process in figuring this channel out, this gating, right? So let's go a little further deeper. Are you guys getting value out of this? Okay, cool. Okay. And we're sharing things from practical real life running agencies. We're not throwing theories out there, right? This is stuff that we're dealing with as we do this, right? So here's the difference, right? Your appointment setter has to qualify intro calls the right way before a demo call is scheduled, right? So this is what in a tool called close, these are the all the activities that happen in an intro call, which is making sure a prospective lead is an actual activated lead that is more than just interested, right? They need to know if we're a good product market fit, right? We delete this again so we don't have any confusion, right? And then in the demo call, before they put it on our calendar, they're going to make sure that this person is interested. They understand who we are. They do believe there's a product market fit. And matter of fact, Tom, if we can show the right ROI, you are willing to invest into marketing in the near future. We're talking about a week or two. We're not talking about an confirmed buyer for 2022 end of Q4. That's not an activated buyer. That's a prospective buyer. And also remember, you have a sales cycle. So agency sales cycles are usually around 44 to 64 days. Like it's not no more than maybe 2 months. If that person tells you that they're going to make a decision 3 months away, then they're out of your sales cycle. They're too far away. You're probably better off holding off on that prospect and reaching out to them a little later when they're getting closer to a decision, right? Otherwise, you'll see all this stuff happen in account management. Well, we thought we are getting this, you guys sold us this, and then Facebook ads don't work, and that doesn't work. And it's all because of the way the environment of sales was created by the appointment setter. Okay. So you guys follow me. You guys follow me so far on this, right? Before I go into the next phase of the conversation, any questions? Any questions so far? Either I'm doing a great job explaining this or everybody's lost. That's always my fear. Okay, cool. So first things first, pipeline volume. Second thing is what I just talked about, which is sales enablement. I wanted to I wanted to kind of give you guys an idea of what your role is to make sure your appointment setter is successful. So first things first problem you want to solve is pipeline volume, right? How do you solve that? Get out of prospecting. Do not be the person that's doing prospecting in your agency. Hire a VA for $300 to $500 a month. Let them pound the wave on cold email. Let them pound the wave on Instagram DMs or LinkedIn, whatever, like whatever is appropriate for your industry. Automotive, I know LinkedIn doesn't work that well. I don't waste my time there. Cold email works for me. Instagram works for me. Facebook ads work for me, right? So 3 organic channels and 1 paid ad channels is good for a sales unit, 1 unit. right? If you have 3 organic channels, that's enough work for one appointment setter and one closer, okay? Now, remember that you're not going to solve the pipeline problem overnight, right? It's a challenge because you have to remember to have prospective leads that become activated leads, prospective buyer versus confirmed buyers. If you're measuring your pipeline, okay, do not make the mistake of measuring off of prospective leads and prospective buyers. You measure off of activated leads and confirmed buyers that are ready to go. The size of your pipeline are people who have said yes to you in investing into marketing or interested in your product or service. Now, that probably significantly shrinks your pipeline, doesn't it? Right? That significantly shrinks your pipeline, which is typically the reason why you don't see closes happen as often as you would want it to. Because your pipeline is full of maybe 500 leads with 5 confirmed buyers or 5 activated actual leads. So it's easy to get miscued on the real size of your pipeline. You guys following me? Right? Most agencies do not know how to measure their pipeline because they think a lead is a lead, just like how we think of leads for our customers, right? And that's not the same thing. You want to make sure they're activated leads, activated confirmed buyers, okay? So first thing you want to solve is pipeline volume. That means you need to get into a world of inbound leads for your business. Inbound, 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 right? How do you do that? You need to set up channels, set up organic channels, paid ads channels with offers that make sense to the market, and let people jump in, raise hands in the market and say, hey, I'm interested, Craig. I'm interested, Daryl. I'm interested, Gus. Like they're going to raise their hand. And at that point, sales is completely flipped. You're able to go into a whole different psychological process with them versus you trying to prove yourself. Your sales cycle gets shortened. And this is all possible with proper outbound systems, right? Now, one more thing. So 3 things we're talking about: pipeline volume, sales enablement, and measuring the data. Sales enablement, I want to also just talk about one time before I get off of that high horse, right? Appointment setters, scripts versus frameworks. Okay. If your appointment setters don't understand the reasoning behind the script, they're going to fail. It's that simple. If they don't know what and why your scripts were built the way it was, they're not going to know the context to the script that they're using. So you really want to help them understand the framework, right? That you really want to help them understand, ultimately it's not about the script, it's about the sales journey that they're helping and pushing the pipeline with. Okay? So ask yourself, what are the qualification points in your industries, in your niches, right? In your niches, right? Whatever, that should be included in your channel gating, in your sales enablement process, right? If you were to look at this slide, right, you have prospective leads, activated leads, prospective buyers, and confirmed buyers, right? What are the questions that your appointment setter should ask for your industry? That's what you want to pay attention to. And all it takes is 2 questions in each one. Let's talk about prospective lead, right? The 2 questions I would ask a prospective lead is like, hey, what made you interested in marketing? 1, right? Number 2, what about marketing do you think you're missing? Imagine a lead that answered those 2 questions. Where are they in the business? Right? Where are they in their shopping process? Like they're trying to find an agency, right? In the activated lead, I would ask them, hey, do you feel like we're the right fit for you? Like, for example, let's say all you do is run Facebook ads, right? And if that's the case, if an activated lead is essentially looking for Facebook ads, that's a good product market fit, right? Right? If you're doing Google ads and they want Facebook ads, even though that's an activated lead, doesn't mean they're a prospective buyer. right? So ask those questions around product market fit to make sure they're an activated lead that goes into the next level. Prospective buyer. When it comes to the demos, right? Let's keep this simple. The biggest qualification points that you want to ask an intro call before a demo is scheduled is whether they are interested in marketing, whether they're interested in marketing right now, whether they are able to invest into marketing, and also whether they're able to invest into marketing right now to solve their problems, right? You see how the timing of all this makes sense, right? Like you really have to make sure that they're ready to take action today, right? So really come up with 2 or 3 questions that make sense from intro call to demo calls. And if you're sitting down with your appointment setter and he or she will tell you, hey, here's ultimately, I would tell them, hey, Andrea is the name of my appointment setter. So Andrea, I'll ask Andrea, I was like, hey, do you think this, like when we review calls, right? I'll ask her, do you think this person would have bought at the intro level? Can you gauge that out, right? How do you gauge that out? You need to ask the right questions. How could you ask the right questions? You got to get to a point that they're comfortable with you, right? Right? That's really that simple. And also, here's a key to being very successful in appointment setting. People don't have an issue in being interrupted. Nobody has an issue being interrupted. Most of us get interrupted all the time. We see a notification, we go into the next thing. We get distracted easily. We don't have an issue getting interrupted. We have an issue with getting interrupted without context, right? If I'm going to be interrupted, I better know and understand what it's about quickly, get to the point, let's go. Right? So if I'm calling Tom and he opted in, I'm gonna shoot him right in the chest and ask him right then and there everything I need to know, which goes like, hey Tom, you opted into one of our Facebook ads. We're a marketing agency that specializes in fitness. Can you take on new clients right now? I just want to get right to the points. Is this a good time to invest into marketing? Right? And you do that through the story. Remember, story, numbers, conditions, and decisions. We talked about this, right? Anybody need me to review this? Right? I'll ask Tom, what's your story? Let them talk. Remind me to tell you my story later, Tom. Help me understand how many people are walking through the front door. Okay, cool. 10 people come in every week. Not a problem. What does that mean? Well, that means 10 people means $1,000 a week. Okay, cool. Where do you want to be? Because I'm thinking about the desired scenario at this point. Okay, if everything I shared with you, Tom, makes sense with you for you, is this a good time to invest into marketing? Perfect. Do you think, based on what we're offering, that there is a good fit for us to work together? Perfect. Do you want to jump on a strategy call tomorrow? We'll share our Zoom, our strategies and everything that we got to share and show you how we can bring in usually around 40 to $50,000 with an investment of maybe 2K. Would that make sense? How do you normally make decisions? Cool. I'll make sure your wife is attending the meeting too. Not a problem. Right? You see how I took this framework and I'm thinking about this and I'm thinking about this, right? Now when you go back and evaluate some of the activities that you guys may have done, you're probably thinking, oh, shoot, I didn't talk to qualified people in the right timing and where they were. That's probably the judgment that you may have for yourself, which is okay. This is for you to get aware and understanding of how the leads move through. And the appointment setter is somebody that can handle this. If they understand the full map of your sales process, they will understand how to navigate through a lead and turn them into a demo where you get qualified demos. I mean, my time is so sensitive, so is Lewis's. Like, we don't want to be talking to the wrong demo. I have no problem having way less demos scheduled if they're qualified. No problem. At that point, my next gig is okay. How do we knock up the pipeline? Like this needs to go up in the volume, right? If not enough demos are happening that are qualified, the pipeline is the problem, right? Is this good? You guys getting a lot out of this? Okay, cool. The last thing I want to talk about, and I'll conclude this pretty quickly here, is measuring the right results. Okay. Most people don't understand what a lead truly is, right? A lead is somebody who's activated, they're ready to go, they need something now. That's the difference between a interest buyer versus an active buyer. I mean, how many of you guys like I recently bought a car, I mean for my wife actually, SUV. I mean, she was in the market for like a year and a half. I mean, I'm like, dude, just make a decision. Like you're driving me crazy trying to figure out what you want. Like, well, I want this and third row seating. And I'm like, cool, you're an interest buyer for those car dealers right now. That last week is when she turned into an active buyer. She's like, okay, honey, like I think I found exactly what I want. Perfect. Right? Like that's what you want as a salesperson, right? Especially from a closing perspective. This is how closers turn into like these prima donnas. Like, well, I need to have a full VSL with a 20-point application filled out before I'll attend a demo. Like you'll see like closers like randomly just turning into prima donnas because they don't want to deal with all the appointment activities, and your success of your closer is going to be very dependent on the quality of your appointment setting skills, right? It's not that closers are elite. It's not that. Better closers deal with more at bats and more volume and more reps, so they naturally just get better because they deal with more in a short amount of time, right? So what are the exact KPIs that you want to pay attention to? All you everybody that's in here, if you're on the analytical side of life, you may really appreciate this, right? Data that you want to consider: total number of leads. That's what everybody considers. My pipeline is total number of leads, which is not your pipeline. That's just the total number of prospective leads that may be interested. Right? Then you want to have total number of prospects. Those are folks that are interested. They have confirmed that they're looking for a marketing service provider. Right? Then you want to pay attention to total number of intro calls. Right? Those are people that you engaged out of the folks that are interested. Right? Then you have total number of interested prospects, which means they've said yes, I want to invest into marketing. I want to understand what you can do for me. What should I expect? They're activated. Then you have demo scheduled, demo shows and no shows if you want to add another layer, and also number of proposals. Even if you guys don't send out a proposal, even if that's not part of your process, you need to be able to measure how many people said yes to you. And that's what I mean by number of proposals. You may not actively send out a proposal, but Tom, if five people said yes to you, those are five proposals that have said yes to everything, even if they haven't made the decision to close, right? Then obviously number of closed clients. Okay. You guys want to unmute yourselves and any questions? I'll stay on for like 5-6 minutes and we'll call it a day. Was this helpful? Like, did you guys get a lot out of this? You guys are awfully quiet today.
Yeah, I've done we call it like triage calls, right? Like the initial calls. So I've done those on high ticket. It's a new concept to think about it on lower tickets like these 297s. So I was very curious to hear how it would translate.
Well, it translates, especially if you have a hybrid offer, right? Like
Right.
this, right? So, but it's really hard for you to be like, okay, let me just do this for low ticket. But you want to look at volume,
Mhm.
right? It's when you look at volume, you should be able to close a lot more deals because your offer is, not that it's very low resistance to be able to jump into your ecosystem, right? So
Right.
you have a bigger need to have appointment setting because you have a low ticket versus the high ticket is great. You're trying to save the closer's time with qualified appointments, which
Mhm.
is perfectly fine. But here you'll waste a lot more time with the wrong people because you attract low end barrel people at the lower
Yeah,
price points,
makes sense.
right? So your need here is even bigger than the appointment setting that you may have for high ticket, in my opinion.
Right.
Most people, you can tell right out of the gate whether they qualify for a high ticket or not. So it's
Yeah.
easier to qualify those prospects versus here. Everybody looks the same. They're like, yeah, I'll throw in $200. Well, shit.
Mhm.
Like, I don't know if you're going to be successful,
Yeah.
right? There's
Yeah.
too many buyers. There's too many prospects leads that you really have to have a rock star appointment setter that's going to turn the leaf for you.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, great point. You know,
Yeah. Yeah. It's definitely a mind shift in terms of why you should have an appointment setter on a lower ticket. Makes perfect sense.
yeah. Now, can you set up a um, reward system? Obviously, you could. You can say, hey, every deal that's closed, you get $5 recurring. You can get $10 recurring if you want, right? Like
Mhm.
every deal that's closed, right? One mistake I'll tell you is that a lot of people make is they'll reward an appointment setter for booked appointments.
Yeah.
That is a mistake. Okay. You want to reward everybody in your sales pipeline for the end result of the sale, which is the close, right?
Right.
So if your appointment setter is in sync with the closer and they're not just throwing up a bunch of appointments so they can make that extra $5, you're gonna save your closer, right? Like they're not gonna fight with each other. So what I would do is reward your appointment setter based on the number of closers that your closers do, obviously with two different tiers of commission. But at the end
Mhm.
of the day, your appointment setter, like it's very slippery for you to be like, hey, $5 an appointment, and they'll book anything and everything, and
Yeah.
they're not channel gating,
Yeah.
right? They're not gonna gate anything. Like they're just like, oh, let me just make extra $5. I mean, that's literally what happens, right?
Yeah.
So then your appointment, then it looks like your closer can't close anything when they never had a qualified lead.
Right.
Then your most people swap out closers while they should actually rebuild the way appointment setters are. You honestly don't need highly sophisticated closers in agency world. Like we're not selling no more than $2,000 a piece. Like most agencies, right? So you don't need like a multi-million-dollar closer that comes in and needs like 10% equity. Like you don't need that, right? We're selling, even the agency services are low tickets in the grand scheme of things, right? So ultimately I would reward my appointment setter. If you got nothing out of this call, I will tell you this point: reward your appointment setter not based on the set appointment, but based on the close of the appointment that they set.
Yeah.
Okay, that will create great synergy between your appointment setter and your closer, which is what you want. And they'll start training each other and things like that, telling each other what they're looking for and things like that. But Greg, thanks for bringing that up because that's something I wanted to talk about and didn't get to.
Yeah. Of course.
Okay, perfect. Anybody else? Let's see. People are asking who I should go with on appointment setting. It's I mean, there's thousands of agencies that you can go in to find a VA, but ultimately you need somebody that's available in your time zone. My industry, for example, I needed to go with a Spanish appointment setter that because our customer base is both Hispanic and blue collar, right? So I needed her to be agile so she can handle both Spanish intro calls and regulars. So your use case scenario is going to be different, but anyways, guys, I appreciate all of you in here. I would say go to the high level job network to maybe put up a post if you want to get an appointment setter. But ultimately, your pipeline needs to be well and healthy enough for an appointment setter to have some activities, right? And if you're not bringing in at least, if you don't have at least 2 to 3 leads inbound a day, you don't have enough volume. Okay. 3 inbound leads a day. That's bare minimum that you should generate with your prospecting. Okay. If you're not there, you don't have to have an appointment setter anytime soon. You need to focus on getting those channels up. You need to focus on your prospecting hat. That's number one focus, right? So ultimately, I want you guys to obviously succeed, but anything you need, just let me know. You guys are all pro users. So whatever scenarios, questions you have, like this is informal. You're not going to get world-class training from real life experiences and practitioners. that are here at high level, we're just sharing. Like we're not charging for anything, you know? So we just want you guys to be successful. Let us know what you need and we'll go from there. Have a good rest of your Thursday, Wednesday. Okay? Take care.